I've got two thoughts for you, and I am sitting in a car with my windows rolled up in 70, 80 degrees outside with no AC. So, you know it's important because I'm suffering and sweating for you. But I want to talk about two thoughts. And these are thoughts that you might disagree with. That is fine. I do not mind. But you're going to pretend you don't disagree with them for the sake of this conversation, because that's just how it's going to go. The first thought is that it's never too late. And the second thought is that the timeline doesn't exist. Now, you might believe these things in theory. You might believe the first one and be like, Teresa, time actually does exist. What are you talking about? But I want you to just pretend that those things are true, that the timeline does not exist, that time, in fact, does not matter, and that it is never too late. Because what I really want is for you to give yourself 15 minutes of thinking that way, whether you believe it or not, and see if you would change the next 6 months of your life if you did believe those things. See if you would show up differently if you let go of the idea that you're too young to do something, that you're too old to do something, that your life doesn't follow the timeline you thought it would or thought it should. Are you feeling called out a little bit? Are you feeling triggered a little bit? I hope so. And if you are, then this is specifically for you. Give yourself 15 minutes to believe that time does not matter. I'm on my way home from a meeting with a marketing committee that is helping plan an event, specifically an event for women in Omaha. And the conference this year, I think, was 300 people. Hopefully we can go a little bit bigger this upcoming year. And we were talking about a theme. And the theme we landed on is fearless future. And we were talking about what kind of topics to talk about, what kind of guests to have, and finding people who have a vision for the future, for one. But it's really got me thinking on, okay, what kind of marketing are we going to have over the next 8 months? What kind of posts, what kind of topics? And two things that I thought of is, one, those memes or posts that go around that talk about Oprah was this age and Martha Stewart was this age and this other person was this age, and all these people who never started until they were in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. The women online who are now grandma fashion influencers. I just think that time is something we use to hold ourselves back way too often. And I don't know what the experience is like for men and a timeline, but because I'm a woman and I know what it's like for us, I feel like men get it a little easier when it comes to a timeline, where women, our timeline is dictated, is told us because of our biology that we have to do things by a certain age, and it puts this pressure to have the career and the relationship by a certain time so you can have the family and the babies and support it all, and then you've been out of work for too long. There's so much negativity with time. And it's not that time is a bad thing. It's that we let it hold us back. We use it as an excuse. So what thoughts are coming up for you? What have you been telling yourself? You're too young to do that. You're too young to be a speaker. You're too old to start a podcast. You're too old to start an Instagram account. You're too old to start a business, to change careers, to pack up and move your whole life. You're too young. You don't know enough. You can't do that. It's been so long since you ran. You can't run a marathon next year. You can't train. I've been this way for so long. What is it that's coming up for you? And what if you said, screw that, screw the timeline, and you went after it anyway? Not because you need to achieve something, not because you need to be successful at it, not because you need to be good at it or consistent or do it for the rest of your life, but because there is a part of you that is asking you to do it. There is a voice inside of you, a feeling inside of you, an intuition that is bringing up that topic right now as we speak, that is bringing up that dream, that is bringing up that what if, that you have been making excuses why you cannot do it. But you know, the other way that time becomes an excuse and it holds us back is that we don't allow for time. We don't allow for time to take its course. That we think we need to have success immediately. This podcast is my best illustration and example of this. I officially started the process of this podcast so long ago, or I guess unofficially started the process of this podcast, I don't know, when I was in college. It's something I've played with in different forms. How do I get my voice out there? What am I creating? Do I start a blog? I've started so many blogs and never wrote one blog on them. And now I am 60 plus episodes in. I've been posting for over 2 years, not every single week. If you can do the math, I missed a handful of them in there. But it's because I needed time to take its course, to learn, to play, to experiment, so that in 5 more years, this podcast will be what it's meant to be, destined to be, what it becomes, whatever it becomes. But it can't become what it's going to be if I never start, or if I expect it to reach year 5 goals in year 1. I really believe in the power of letting things breathe. And another way to look at that is feminine energy, the flow, letting things flow. And yet another way that might relate to you is the feeling of being stuck. What if being stuck was actually a pause so that the thing you're working on, the thing you can't figure out, the decision you need to make that you can't get to the right answer yet, the name of the company, the name of the podcast, the exact style, mission, description, value for your business, the purpose, the goal of your life. What if instead of working to figure it out, actively every day questioning and working it, you just let it rest? You don't see it as being stuck. You see it as part of the natural flow, the season. You let it breathe. This is something I've learned through the journey of this podcast is I don't think I really understood feminine energy in work and flow in work and the difference between masculine and feminine energies until probably 4 or 5 months ago, where I finally felt like another version of the podcast had arrived. I finally felt like I understood this really important piece that had been eluding me for so long, which is that this podcast isn't about getting better, stronger, faster. This podcast isn't about active growth or intentional growth in a way where you're taking a course to learn a skill or go into a season of like implementation or checking tasks off the list. This is about the space in between. This is about the space to breathe, to let things come up, to not force them, because that's what's happened with this podcast. When I realized that I don't want to monetize this in a way that's ever going to make somebody feel like they need to be doing more, becoming more, getting better, getting stronger, faster, smarter, richer. Yes, we are doing those things, but I know that you're doing those things way outside of this podcast in pretty much every area of your life. And even when you feel like you're not, you probably are, and feel immense pressure to keep going at exponential rates. I want Becoming Obsessed to be the space where you can pause, you can breathe, and you can let things flow, even if that means it doesn't flow to you for another 6 months, a year, maybe 5 years. It took 2 years of this podcast having a name. That wasn't even episodes being posted. I think I recorded one episode, waited a few months, I recorded my first episode in April 2023. It came out in September 2023. And I didn't figure out what I'm saying right now until 2025, right? There was this missing piece that I didn't know how to explain, which is that this community is not for the moments where you're pushing hard. This is to create space in between those moments. This is to know that you aren't failing when you pause when you take a space to breathe. And that just took time. So sometimes we use time as the excuse for why we can't do something, why we won't do something. I'm too old, I'm too young, too much time has passed, I don't have enough time, whatever that is for you. And sometimes we just don't allow time to take its course, to take its time. I asked you to sit with me for, 15 minutes on this. It's only been, less than 13. So I've got a couple minutes left. But I just want to go back to that question of what is coming up for you in this conversation. And if you are still holding on to the idea that the timeline exists, the timeline matters, then maybe let's just try again. And maybe that is a process that will take you some time to be able to lean into. Either way, there's no wrong answer. Well, that's all the time we have today, folks. Let's go get obsessed.